next open house will be held May the 1st up at the Strader House, the one with the red roof. You can't miss it. Our board meeting will be held on May 9th at the same place. Anybody that wants to get involved is more than welcome. Come on in. Our next meeting in here will be on May the 16th. And we have sitting in the front row here, our next performer. She will sing for us on the 16th. It's a great show. Hope to see you all here. There's also the slave dwelling project will be held here in Walkertown on Friday at 9 a.m. at the high school with different booths and all explaining the slave dwelling project. And then at Saturday at 5:30 in the evening, it moves to Mount Pleasant Methodist Church, where they're going to be serving barbecue and have a choir, and it'll be quite a weekend. And that's the 6th and 7th. The library spring book sale is also competing with that, and that will be Wednesday through Saturday, May the 3rd through the 6th. And finally, those of you that are ready to pay your dues or join or whatever, we're always with our hand out. Miss Vicki Yates in the back there, more than willing to take your money. I'll turn the program over to Mr. Wallace Baird. Thank you. You're up.
Thank you. No, I'm not. Thank you, Mike. And Laura is bringing a guitar player, mandolin, and violin player. So it's going to be a great music event. May 16th. Tonight we have Michael Briggs and some of his rifles, beautiful things. Michael is from Greensboro. He went to Ben Smith High School and graduated from Rockingham Community College. He's the founder and CEO of a communications business called Coverage, incorporated in Greensboro, 41-year-old business. He's a long-time scholar of history and guns. He's done many programs at the Piedmont. He's a collector of Piedmont, North Carolina decorative arts, including long rifles and powder horns, and he's given many programs on this topic. And he's here with his wife, Nancy. Michael, I'll let you have it.
Okay. Do we hit the lights? I hope everybody got some of the flyers that we've got laying back there. I assume that some of you probably know a lot about guns and others of you probably know nothing about guns. So I've got to try to make sure that this is fun and informative for both groups. I have been very passionate about studying and collecting Piedmont, North Carolina decorative arts for over 40 years now. And my favorite of the decorative arts is the North Carolina long rifle, and going with that, the North Carolina decorative powderhorn. And you could just take one school and spend 40 years studying one school, but I haven't done that. I've tried to go for the whole state and tried to focus on that. So tonight we're here to talk about North Carolina schools of long rifles. Well, what does school mean? School means a regional style, not what we think of as school in a 20th or 21st century sense. A group of people that lived in a community that all did the same thing for a living, be that gunsmith, furniture maker, cabinet maker, pottery, whatever. And over a period of years, they developed a regional style. And then everybody that lived in that community worked in their interpretation of that style. And so you can, I can walk in the door and see a piece of furniture and immediately say, that's from Davidson County, or that's from Old Salem, or that's from Chatham County. The different counties had their own style of things. Same with pottery, and same with rifle making. So This is a sign that I have always appreciated. Mesda created this some years back for a long rifle seminar that I was given for them. And as it says, I've stopped people in their tracks without firing a shot. That's a Rowan long rifle on there. It's one of the most ornate, decorative art pieces ever made in North Carolina. So we divide all North Carolina rifles into 9 separate schools, okay? 9 regional styles. And every North Carolina rifle fits into one of those 9. School number 1, and I realize it's hard to see, that's why I made the little printout for you, is what we call the Bear Creek School. And the Bear Creek School is mostly the Kennedy family who worked in what is today Robbins, then it was known as Mechanics Hill, and the Harper family who worked at Harper's Crossroads in Chatham County. So we'll be looking at those, a couple examples, okay? School number 2 is what's called the Early Deep River School, and it was based right on the Guilford-Randolph County line around an early Quaker church called Center Meeting House. Church opened in 1754, and so there was a group of gunsmiths from Guilford County that lived near there, and a group of gunsmiths from Randolph County that lived near there, with 2 gunsmiths over in Alamance County that all worked in that style. Those guys kind of petered out around 1800, and a new group of gunsmiths started in the little community of Jamestown. And they were mostly all Quakers, but they were gunsmiths, and they went on to become the largest long rifle school in the entire southern United States. Over 80 master gunsmiths working in Jamestown. And we can thank Jamestown for these other 8 schools being so rare, because Jamestown put them all out of business by 1860. That Jamestown got into mass producing, making thousands of these per year, and nobody else could stand it, and went out of business. The next school that we're going to talk about is the Salem School. This is a group of Moravian gunsmiths that started off in Bethabara. There was a couple of them in Bethania. There was a whole group of them in Salem. So we'll be looking at some of their pieces tonight, and very artistic people that work there in that group. 5th school is the Davidson School in Davidson County. These are mostly Germans, but not Moravians. They're Dunkers and Baptists and Lutherans. So they are German, they can speak German, and many of their rifles look a lot like the Salem rifles. And this is the only 2 schools, the Salem School and the Davidson School, whose rifles for the most part look alike. There's a couple subtle differences that we look for that help me tell you, yeah, that's a Salem School rifle, or no, that's a Davidson School rifle. And quite often it's impossible to tell you that, because you see both attributes in a single gun. The next school that we'll talk about is the most original style of rifles made in North Carolina, and that's the Rowan School. Rowan rifles don't look like anything made anywhere else in the United States. And Rowan, Salisbury, was the most important English-speaking trading post in Piedmont, North Carolina, going back as far as 1750. The late John Bivens always said that he felt strongly that Daniel Boone, the first time he crossed the Cumberland Gap, he was carrying a Rowan rifle with him. Because he grew up 13 miles from Salisbury. That's where his family would have gone and done all their trading. Next, we'll talk about the Mecklenburg School. And that's largely, most of the gunsmiths were in Mecklenburg, but there's a couple just across the river in what is today Gaston, and at least one just across the river in Lincoln County. And we'll be looking at some of them tonight. Then there's a group of late arriving Germans who came down from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and settled in Iredell and Catawba County, and we call them the Catawba Valley School. And then everything that doesn't fit neatly into one of those 8, we throw them into the western part, which we call the Appalachian School. Very different looking rifles. Quite often people send me pictures of rifles that I can't tell you, was it made on the east side of the mountains in North Carolina, or was it made on the west side of the mountain in Tennessee, or was it made in southwestern Virginia? Because there's very little difference in any of the 3. But most of the Appalachian school makers that we look at in North Carolina were from Buncombe or Haywood County, and that's the 2 that we'll be talking about tonight a little bit. So you've got a map that explains that. You've even got a little cheat sheet to kind of help you so you'll remember this stuff later on. So I'm going to be talking about different parts of guns. Again, most of you know a lot about guns, so when I talk about a stock or a barrel or a lock or triggers or trigger guard or butt plate, you know what I'm talking about. Others of you don't. That's why I brought you a nomenclature sheet. Yes, sir?
Question, were there no rifles made on the eastern seaboard?
No. That's a good question. You'll see nothing down here. Okay? If you lived down east and you wanted a gun, you went down to the general store and ordered one out of a catalog from New York or Europe. And so there were no navigable rivers in the western part of the state. This is considered the back country. And you got to remember who settled it. Hillsborough is over here in Orange County, and that is the westernmost English town in North Carolina. The oldest church in Hillsborough, and every town east of that is always an Episcopal church. Okay? That tells you who settled there. That's the High English. All right? The oldest church in any of these counties here or in the west is never an Episcopal church. Okay? So the churches will always tell you who settled where. All right? Forsyth County was almost all Arabian. The Wachovia tract. Okay, so that'll tell you who settled there. Guilford County is a melting pot of Quakers, Lutherans, and Presbyterians, which are the Scotch-Irish. So this area was settled not from the people from the east, but for the most part, people coming down the Great Wagon Road, down the Shenandoah Valley from southeastern Pennsylvania. And that's why our decorative arts look just like things made in southeastern Pennsylvania and the Delaware Valley. Including our rifles, and all of our cultural heritage comes from there, not from eastern North Carolina. Very different. Okay? So thank you for asking that. Okay. This is a Carney rifle. Carney, we think, worked and trained with the Kennedy family. This is a very ornate rifle. It's one of my favorites. It has an, let's see, okay. Has an Edelweiss patch box, a silver Edelweiss flower patch box on it. Flintlock rifle. This side plate is seen on pretty much every Kennedy rifle from Moore County. Here is the patch box release. This is only seen on a handful of Kennedy rifles. The release to the patch box door is on the opposite side of the stock. Pretty inlay around the barrel tank. Here is another early Bear Creek school. This gun could date back to about the Revolution period. It is a relief car. Oops. See all this raised carving. There's actually a man sitting in a little boat carved here on the stock. And look how this is raised carved on the wrist. A friend of mine, Tommy Murray, owns this rifle. It's got a sliding wood patch box. You see it's got that same step carving on the wrist here again. Okay, now we're going to move over to the early Deep River School. And this is the earliest early Deep River School rifle known. I think it also dates to the Revolution. The earliest gunsmith from that school was a man named Matthew Osborne. He moved here from Pennsylvania in 1753. He lived right behind Center Meeting House down on Highway 62 right on the Guilford-Randolph County line. He lived on the Guilford side of it. He worked as a gunsmith and blacksmith and made rifles for his Quaker neighbors. He learned, though, in 1781 that some of his rifles had been used at the Battle of Guilford Courthouse by a local militia. And according to the minutes of the Quaker church there, he repurchased those rifles and broke the stocks against the tree. Something that church is still very proud of today. So there's no signed Matthew Osborne rifles. This is the earliest early Deep River School rifle known. I think it's very possibly by him. It's relief carved on both sides of the stock, both in front of the patch box. This is sort of a early daisy patch box in the style of early Lancaster, Pennsylvania rifles, which is where I think he trained. Again, relief carving here, relief carving here. Early Deep River School side plate. Two-screw tang. This rifle is here tonight. This is David Gross, and what became this school, the most prototypical rifles are by David Gross. There's two of which that survive. He started down around Center Meeting House in the 1790s. In 1805, the Guilford County Court awarded him an orphan to train as a gunsmith. In 1806, the Guilford County Court awarded him a second orphan to train as a gunsmith. And he purchased 120 acres of land on what is today Friendly Avenue in Greensboro, bordering New Garden Friends Meeting. So he built a house and a gun shop right next door to the Quaker church. He was a Quaker. There's nothing in the Quaker religion wrong with making guns, owning guns, selling guns, shooting guns. You can't join the army. Okay? He stayed there until 1821 when he sold out, packed up, and moved to Indiana, and he tried to help a runaway slave escape, but the slave got caught in Louisville and sent back to Randolph County. Notice on the early Deep River School, one of the strong characteristics, this rifle has a really strong triple bead molding that runs the length of the buttstock from the butt plate all the way up to the trigger guard. The butt plate and the trigger guard on this rifle are iron. Most people who know just a little bit about long rifles see a gun with iron mountings on it and they immediately put it in the mountains. No. Many of our rifles made here in the Piedmont were iron mounted. The earliest guns often tend to be iron mounted. This has a hinged cover that releases and pops off and is still filled with tallow, which you use to grease the cloth patch when you loaded the gun. Whatever molding is here will be repeated on the forestock. This is the only North Carolina rifle I've owned, and I've owned over 300 of them, that the gunsmith made the entire gun, lock, stock, and barrel. I think there's only about 5 rifles I've ever seen from North Carolina where the gunsmith made the lock. That's so very rare. Generally, the locks are always imported. But here you have a homemade lock. Iron trigger guard. And again, that same triple bead forestock molding that runs the length of the forestock. That's the typical side plate for early Deep River School. Short, one-screw barrel turn. Now we're going to move over to the Jamestown School. Again, the largest long rifle school in the southeast United States. The man that started it was named Thaddeus Gardner, born in Guilford County in 1774. Would have been 21 years old in 1795. Probably was working as a gunsmith then, can't document it. He brought 3 sons into the business. He had a water power barrel mill on Deep River. He also trained his nephew, William Lamb, and we'll talk about him a little more in just a few minutes. This is the best Thaddeus Gardner rifle. The Museum of Early Southern Decorative Arts in Old Salem has recently borrowed this rifle from me and is now on display at their Longrifle gallery over in Old Salem. Unusual patch box, double incised carbide along the cone. That's a strong North Carolina feature. All Thaddeus Gardner rifles have short little one-screw barrel tanks. No other Jamestown gunsmith did this. All the others used long, three-screw rounded barrel tanks. His guns are always signed simply TG on the barrel. He started something that was later copied by the best of the other Jamestown makers, an interrupted four-stop molding. So the four-stop molding comes along, stops, there'll be an inlay, and then they'll start again and go up to the next inlay and stop and start like that. That's the pick holder for the Jamestown style. This is the best William Lamb rifle. It is one of 6 Jamestown rifles with an eagle patch box. Now we're going to see a lot of eagle patch boxes when we start talking about Salem and Davidson. I think all 6 eagle patch box Jamestowns are by William Lamb. 4 of them are signed, 2 are attributed. And I think it's his way of honoring or his homage to the Vogler family over in Salem. But this is the most outstanding Jamestown rifle that I've seen. It's just covered in silver. There's your silver eagle with a lot of engraving on it. Got small little beaver tails on the back of the lock mortise. Again, an interrupted four-stop molding. The barrel is pinned to the stock. The inlays here have a false silver wedge to fool your eye. Most Pennsylvania rifles, that barrel would be wedged, but here that's just false, just to fool you. I have another William Lamb rifle here tonight that has that same feature. There's your long, rounded, three-screw barrel tank. Now, majority of Jamestowns were made during the percussion period, and they're only half-stock rifle. I would say over 90% of all Jamestown rifles are half-stock percussion rifles. This is one of 2 that I have found over the years that is covered in Masonic inlays. This rifle has 20 inlays on it, and each one is a different type of Masonic symbol. I think they cater to that trade. There's your Masonic star, got a trowel, and a hammer. Here's the floor of a Masonic hall. There's a level. Here is the inside of a Masonic hall. The all-seeing eye, the Chief of God, the pillars of Joachim and Boas. There's your typical three-screw rounded barrel tank. That was signed W. Lamb and Son. All right, now we're going to move over to Salem. These are some of the most graceful, beautiful rifles made in North Carolina. Almost all have eagle patch boxes. This is a Christoph Vogler. Christoph began training at the Salem gun shop in 1783. In 1787, he became the master gunsmith of Salem. There's a beautiful silver eagle patch box. There's a Masonic star and a man in the moon face. Beautiful tiger stripe maple stock. Typical Salem tang, 2 screws. This is my early version of a Christoph. Again, an eagle patch box. This is Christoph's oldest son, Nathaniel Vogler. Has a man's face with a bird sitting on it. The person that owns this is a doctor friend of mine who lives in Florida. And he had a German patient who had been a German soldier in World War II. He looked at the gun and he said, Vogler. He said, that means bird keeper in German. The falconeer. And the falconeer either had a leather perch on his hand or a hat he would wear. And the falcon would land on the perch. That's what Vogler stands for in German. Look at this filing going on the triggers. Like I said, look at all those piercings in the brass coverlet. It's one of the most exquisite pieces of artwork.
What year would he be marking that?
That rifle right there was made between 1810 and 1820. This beautiful eagle. Now, did he engrave it or did his cousin, John Vogler, engrave it? John was the silversmith in Salem, but also worked as a gunsmith too. On the snake, it has a biblical verse. The seed of the woman hath bruised the serpent's head. Seed of the woman's man. This is signed Nathaniel Vogler, Salem and silver plate on the barrel. This is John Vogler, his cousin. This rifle was made by John for his son Elias. And it's signed E.A. Vogler on the patchbox lid with a silver eagle. Has a eagle side plate. This is my George Vogler. Again, silver eagle patch box on a brass box. Salem 4-stock molding, terminated with a C-scroll. And a very similar eagle side plate. Man in the moon and a Moravian star. This is a George Vogler disselfink, a bird pecking its tail. You see disselfinks quite often in German Frocker art. I think it's, Google it, as the golden finch is the type bird it's supposed to represent. But it's one of 5 Moravian rifles with a disselfink patch box. It's very, very unusual. This is the only Vogler pistol I've ever found in a private collection in South Carolina. Okay, now we're going to move down about 15 miles to northern Davidson County. This is Solomon Farrington. I found 5 tracts of land on Abbott's Creek, right where Lexington Avenue comes into Abbott's Creek. Very close to the Abbott's Creek Primitive Baptist Church over there. This is the only signed rifle known to survive by him beside S. Farrington. I see this tree of life on many Davidson rifles. I don't see it anywhere else. What's unusual about this, you've got a brass eagle with a silver head. This rifle is here tonight. This is Andrew Long, who worked also over in northern Davidson County in the Midway area. Found this one in Missouri, in Boston. Beautiful eagle patch box. Get a man in the moon. Beautiful 4-stock molding, terminated in a scroll. False silver edges. This is Henry Ledford, the most prolific Davidson County gunsmith. His gun shop was on Highway 109 between Ledford Middle School and Ledford High School, between Thomasville and Walberg, North Carolina. Made over 500 guns out of that shop. This is a beautiful silver eagle. We recently had his great-grandson come all the way from California visit us and see this Ledford rifle. Very finely engraved. Beautiful silver stars on the 4-stock. and all this. Look at the time it would take to engrave that. Again, these, I've never fired one of these, and I've owned 300 of them. I don't collect them as guns, I collect them as art and as local historical objects. I mean, this is a great part of our culture. This is a gun I owned for a short period of time, a couple of years ago, and sold it. It's just a super fancy silver inlaid rifle by Henry Ledford.
That's another question for mine.
Sure.
Silver today is pretty valuable. I'm sure it was back in those days also. Do you know the price of the gun with or without silver?
This gun, with all of that on it, would have been $20 to $25. Okay, that's what that would cost. A plain gun would have been $7 or $8. Okay. Henry Ledford died in 1856. Stopped making guns in 1853. Now we're going to go down to Rowan. There were a number of gunsmiths working in Rowan prior to the Revolution. We don't have a single rifle that exists that we can document as coming from there. Again, every covered wagon that went over the mountains, went over through the Cumberland Gap, many of them had Rowan rifles or early Salem rifles. Not much of that stuff survives. There were 3 generations of men named Henry Bruner. Henry Bruner the first, actually his name was Henry. He came over from Germany in the 1750s, trained in Pennsylvania, settled in Salisbury, worked as a gunsmith. His son, Henry Bruner Jr., and then this rifle is the best surviving example, signed Henry Bruner III, and he lived from 1789 to 1819. Again, working in Salisbury. This rifle belongs to the Museum of Early Southern Decorative Arts in Old Salem. It's the best example of a Bruner rifle. Looks to me a lot like a Pennsylvania rifle with sort of this rounded cone here. I call it a Roman nose, which we see that in Pennsylvania. Don't see any other rifles in North Carolina that have that feature. Early leaning version of what became the Rowan Christmas tree patch box. Unique to Rowan. This one is signed Henry Bruner. This is probably the most ornate North Carolina rifle. It's made by John Eagle. His father, George Eagle, was a gunsmith, born in Rowan, settled in Cabarrus. John lived right at where Highway 29 is now in northern Cabarrus County, just below the Rowan County line, between Kannapolis and Concord. This rifle is very ornate, has a long patch, Christmas tree patch box, shaped like a Christmas tree. Sign made by John Eagle on the patch box lid, upside down. Many gunsmiths in in Rowan and Mecklenburg sign their guns upside down. So the man holding the gun would flip it upside down and then read the name on the patch box lid. Look at all this carving. Silver eagle, brass pick holder, beautifully relief carved. Relief carved around the lock mortise. This rifle we have with us here tonight, this is mine. This is his brother-in-law, Isaac Ryland. He married Polly Eagle, George Eagle's daughter, John's sister. This is signed also upside down, IR for Isaac Ryland. This was his personal rifle. Again, it's relief carved, eagle patch box. Dated upside down 1827 on the side plate. Almost all Eagle and Ryland and Nash rifles have a double end-slice carbine that starts at the butt plate, goes all the way up, goes around the trigger guard, and repeats all the way down the other side. Again, unique features in this school. This rifle is signed on the patch box lid. It's also signed on the silver inlay behind the barrel tank. And it's hard to see here, but there is a relief carved shell here behind the barrel tank. All Rowan rifles have a plain nose cap with a wedding band. It's something unique again to this school. But we see it over and over again on their rifles. Here you have this relief carved shell mortise around both sides of the lock plate. This is this bulge on the ramrod entry pipe is again unique to the Rowan school, and it's hard to see here, but a relief carved shell is here behind that. Here you can see it a little bit better from there. Real silver wedges on the forestock and beautiful forestock molding. Now we're going to move over to Mecklenburg. Mecklenburg made probably the most graceful, ornate rifles made in North Carolina. There's about 20 gunsmiths that worked in Mecklenburg County. This is the top one. This is the William Black rifle, signed WB on the patch box lid. WB. One of the features about Mecklenburg, whatever is engraved on the patch box lid behind the hinge will be mirrored on the other side of the hinge on the base of the finial. This is the finial. This is an S-scroll finial that many Mecklenburg makers use. Beautifully, artistically relief carved. This rifle now belongs to the Museum of Early Southern Decorative Arts again in Old Salem, made in 1813. One of two signed William Black rifles that survive.
Are those guns displayed over there at Minnesota?
Yes. You have to request the full national tour.
Okay, behind the scenes.
You have to ask for the full tour, but they do that tour every day. It's very important. Another thing we see on Mecklenburg is this sine wave engraving. See that over and over again. And that's this relief carved on the stock. Mecklenburg did something that nobody else did. On many of their rifles, the ramrod entry pipe, the toe plate, and sometimes on both ends of the trigger guard will have little decorative tab extensions. We don't see that anywhere else. We'll see it over and over again on Mecklenburg rifles. This again is relief carved around the barrel tank. There's the decorative extensions on either end of the trigger guard. Again, dated 1813 on the side plate. Just a fabulous rifle. This is Isaac Thompson. He was the last of the Mecklenburg School gunsmiths, died in 1856, born in 1802. Lived in northern Mecklenburg County. This is one of 6 relief carved rifles I found by him. Again, beautiful carving. This looks very much like the best guns you'll find from Pennsylvania. That's his interpretation of a hunter's star. Whoops. There. This is 2 rifles that I found signed by Samuel Black. I think he's kin to William, but I can't document it. There's 3 Williams all lived there and 2 Samuels all alive at the same time, but we don't know who was who. But there's 2 rifles signed to SMB, and one of the SMB rifles is with us here tonight. Relief carved right there. Inside SMB on the patch box lid. Again, what is engraved here is mirrored on the other side of the hinge.
So would they have had a shop set up just making trigger guards, or was it somebody name?
The gunsmith would have cast his own and then engraved it. These guys, when I say master gunsmiths, I mean master gunsmiths. Capable of doing everything, but again, 99% of the time they order the lock. Notice the relief carved beaver tail around the barrel tank, raised carved. That's designed out and everything else is chipped away and that's left raised. I found this in Tucson, Arizona, a Mecklenburg pistol. It's got Mecklenburg four-stop molding, all silver mounted. I own the only signed rifle by Zenas Alexander. Zenas was a gunsmith and silversmith. I have 2 silver spoons signed by him, and I think he made this pistol. So it's a Mecklenburg silver-mounted pistol. Now we're going to move up the Catawba Valley to Catawba and Iredell County. This is Henry W. Huffman. Mazda has recently borrowed this rifle from me too, so it's on display right now at the Museum of Early Southern Decorative Arts on their long rifle gallery. Beautiful engraved patch box with a heart piercing split boxes. This looks just like a rifle from the late Lancaster period, 1830s rifle made in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Beautifully engraved patch box. Very folky. Chip carving on the wrist. Sort of an egg-shaped trigger guard. That's something that they used over and over again in the Catawba Valley. Hard to see in this picture, but it's got a four-stop molding that comes along, goes in a scroll, and then flowers out. We see that over and over again on rifles from this school. This is something unique to Catawba Valley. Chevrons engraved on the nose cap. Again, that's something we see over and over in rifles made in that school. This was dated on the side plate, 1834. Again, very folky engraving. This is on the toe plate, and that's the patch box release button. Signed, Henry W. Huffman on the barrel. This is Daniel Speck, worked in Iredell County. Signed upside down, D. Speck on the patch box lid. There, again, four-stop molding that comes in, goes into a C-scroll, but then continues on with another design. Something we see, again, unique to that school. And then the rifles far to the west. Henry West was in Haywood County. 99% of the Appalachian school rifles used walnut for their stocks. Almost all the rifles made down here in Piedmont used maple. This is the only Appalachian school North Carolina rifle that I have seen with any sort of decoration on it at all. It has an iron banana lid style patch box, iron trigger guard, iron butt plate. But it does have some very basic carving back here. None of the others have anything like that. They're much more utilitarian. Signed HW for Henry West on the patch box, on the barrel. I am not a big fan of Appalachian school rifles because they don't have, as John Goodman used to put it, artistic merit. However, the first time I ever saw a Joseph McDowell Whitson rifle, I changed my mind. Those rifles have the most beautiful, graceful architecture of anything I've seen from the Appalachian school and pretty much anything I've seen from North Carolina. He was in Buncombe County. Look at that architecture. That to me is just a work of art. Doesn't need decoration. Just the architecture of it itself. Most rifles from North Carolina from the Appalachian School have long and extended tangs. If the rifle was from Tennessee, it would continue up and go on down, top of the cone. This rifle was made for William P. McBee, who was born in Lincoln County. His father, Virgil McBee, founded the town of Greenville, South Carolina. He graduated from UNC Chapel Hill in 1840, died in 1862. This was his rifle, named for him by Joseph McDowell. Okay, so now we've covered all 9 schools. Now we're going to talk for just a minute on North Carolina powderhorns, and then I'll shut up and let you come look at stuff. Piedmont, North Carolina powderhorns. There are three attributes I look at when somebody brings me a powder horn to tell you, is it from this area or not? There's three things that the horners here used over and over again. The rarest of those, and what is most sought after by collectors, is rings or bands. 95% of the time, those rings or bands are cut off of another horn and then applied to the horn that you're looking at. So it's other pieces of horn applied to it. One of the very few exceptions to that is this horn. Those rings right there are not applied. They're relief carved. So that is part of the original horn. And those were designed out and everything else shaved away to leave those standing. This is sort of the best of the best in terms of those things. This is a pewter ring. This is bone. It's been turned on a lathe, and that tip is pewter. And second thing that I look for, most local powder horns, the base or plug back here is not going to just be flat. In most cases, most powder horns, 95% of all powder horns, that base is just put up in there and it's flat. We didn't do that. Our horns tend to have a base that protrudes, and quite often will have concentric rings carved on it, that the closer you get to the top, the shorter the ring. We refer to that as beehive. Okay? A beehive base. Okay? The third attribute that I find of local horns, most powder horns, that whole thing, except for that plug back there, is all one piece of horn. Here, we did applied tips. And that tip or spout out here, it can be bone, it can be deer antler. I've seen them out of wood. I've seen them out of pewter. I've seen them out of another piece of horn. Okay? So, it can be any of those things, but in most cases, that a North Carolina horn is going to have some type of applied tip out here. Now, most horns from Pennsylvania, that tip screws on and screws off. We did a few screw tip horns down here, but for the most part, no. Most of those are pinned that we'll see them down here, so that tip doesn't come off. Okay. This horn, Bill Ivey found this in the attic of an old house with a Kennedy rifle in southern Randolph County. And I went crazy over it and pestered him to death until he sold it to me. But this horn would date right around 1800, still has the original leather strap and ticking for the strap. But that survives in that condition. It's unbelievable. These survive at a much, much smaller rate than the guns do. The worms tended to eat these horns up. There's your pewter and bone. There's your base with small rings on it. This horn is out of Alamance County. I have this horn. Bill Ivey has one identical to it. John Braxton has one identical to it. So some professional horn maker in southern Alamance County made these. And I just love the look of this. I love the color of it and the size and proportion of it. It has one single band applied, a beehive base, and a carved on a lathe bone tip. It's perfect.
So who would be making them? Just
Somebody, I've never been able to identify anybody. I never found anybody that's in the census as a horn. But I know that they were here because I find the same horns over and over and over again in certain regions. So I can oftentimes take a look at a horn and instantly tell you that's Alamance County, or that's from this, or that's from there, that's from Guilford, that's from Randolph, or that's from site.
It just didn't hold the value to sign it or the promenade.
Never seen one sign. Okay, now this one is also, this one came right out of Alamance. That's another piece of horn, plied on the tip. Applied bands with little nails holding the band zone, and a wonderful beehive base. There's your concentric rings. There's your plied tip. This is right out of Stokes County. It doesn't have bands. It doesn't have an applied tip. But look at that wonderful beehive. That's a Stokes County powderhorn that dates to about 1800. This horn right here I found in Davidson County. And this is sort of the best of the best here. This one came right out of Randolph. We have 4 applied bands. We have a beautiful beehive. Look at that wonderful applied tip. I think that's a deer antler. Turned around on the lake. Questions?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
the star on the butt star. I think you referred to it earlier, in one case, as being a Arabian star.
That's what I've read. That's what John Bibbins said it was on Salem rifles. But then on the other rifles I see them, people call them hunter's star. So I don't know yet.
The reason I asked, the earliest date, that Arabian star dates to 1820-21, Christmas, in District, Germany. So it couldn't have been an Arabian star prior to that. A hunter's star is where I hang my hat, but I don't want to be putting out wrong information.
I see this. I read the same things you read. So I mean, so I understand. Can we hit the lights? Questions?
When you say found in Davidson County, what do you mean like?
Bought from the state center.
Oh,
Okay. Questions?
So all these guns have rifling?
Yes. Yes, they were all hand rifled.
But you never get into that. You don't talk about that.
I don't do that. I don't shoot the gun, so I don't.
That to me is as much an art as
Right. I'm sure it was.
is the decoration of a gun. With that, how long would it take them to bore a gun and rifle a barrel? Do you know?
Making a barrel from slag to finishing and rifling it took as many as 7 to 8 days, from what according to John Bibbins.
Quicker than
And stocking the gun took 2 to 3 days. Carving took a little longer if you put carbon on the gun. But very few guns are carved. I mean, there's only about total carved rifles in North Carolina that I know of. The number's just under 30 that survive. So, I mean, they're very, very rare and very sought after. Question?
When you said that powderhorns from Stokes County, is that when Stokes and Forsyth were one big county? Or are you talking about present day Stokes County?
It was found in what is today Stokes. Now, that's, where it was made, was it carried there? I have no idea. I just know that that's where it came out of an estate sale in Stokes County. What is today Stokes? I've got one from Surrey. I've got a banded horn from Surrey. I've got that horn from Stokes. Most of the vast majority of them I find are from Guilford, Alamance, and Randolph. That's I've got 13 North Carolina horns. I've got one from Salem that actually has the Single Brothers house and an exposed timber house engraved on it. Yes, sir.
Michael, when did they start doing that decoration of the banding on the horns?
I think they started that in 1770, 1780, up to about 1800, 1810. I don't think they were doing it much after that. I don't think when you get into the 1830s and 40s, they were still doing that. I think these, when I see these, but I've only ever seen one or two that are dated. There's a real, in my book, there's one that's from Surrey County that has Surrey County engraved on it, the date 1803. It's a real fancy horn. And there's actually two other horns by the same hand that have surfaced in collections. Yes, sir.
On the iron mounted stocks or the furniture on it's all iron mounted. Were those pieces made out of just regular flat bar stock and then they heated them and bend them and file them down to get the shape they want, or did they?
That'd be a good question for a blacksmith. I wouldn't have a clue. Blake Stevenson, who runs the Timothy Vogler shop in Salem, would be a good person to talk to over there, or Bill Bailey. Fortunately, that's a resource we have. The oldest working gun shop in America is in Salem, North Carolina. The Timothy Vogler shop was built and opened in 1831, still in operation today, making Salem long rifles by hand.
That was even for the one in Williamsburg.
Yeah. So I mean, that predates that. So that's they recreated one in Williamsburg. The one in Salem, that's the original building, built in 1831. We don't have anything like that anywhere else in America. I mean, that's really important to me culturally. And my next book will be out in the fall of next year. Will be on the Salem School. Blake Stevenson and I are writing it together. I'm also doing a book next year on the Davidson School. I have some books back in the back. There's a book on Guilford. There's a book on Rowan. There's a book on Mecklenburg, a book on powderhorns. I have a book that I wrote on everything that happened in Guilford County in the Civil War. There were 7, all of these Kentucky rifle gunsmiths got together and formed 7 different companies to make military rifles during the Civil War. And all that story is explained in the Guilford Under the Sky of Bars book. And then I brought some of Bill Ivy's books, which cover all 9 schools and powderhorns and all that stuff made in the Confederacy. So all that's back there. So please take your time, come up, take a look, keep your hands off. Take a look at anything you want to look at. I'll be glad to answer any questions. And if you want to go to book, please come back and see me for that. Thank you so much. Thank you.